Today is not gonna suck. Today we have a hitter of a quadruple bass episode, all voted on you pretty much immediately after I review the Russell's 15. Today we take Russell's 15 year, put it against Russell's single Rickhouse, Camp Nelson F, Generations, and Russell's 13. Stay here to see which turkey comes out on top. Again, this day is not gonna suck. Who wins? We're about to find out. This is gonna be crazy. Stay right here. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C, and welcome back to the Mash and Drum. Like, subscribe, and help me keep climbing to that 100,000 subscriber milestone here in 2024. Appreciate the support, and as always, if you have any suggestions for some head-to-head matchups, leave them below in the comments. All right, let's meet today's turkeys. First up is Wild Turkey Generations, marking the first time Jimmy, Eddie, and Bruce Russell have collaborated on a single whiskey. The result is a combination of 9, 12, 14, and 15-year-old bourbons. This is bottled at 120.8 proof with an SRP of $450. Next up is my bourbon of the year for 2023, the Russell's Reserve Single Rickhouse Camp Nelson F, composed of choice barrels from the 4th and 5th floors of Camp Nelson's Rickhouse F. It's non-chill filtered, bottled at 117.6 proof, and this is priced at $300. Now, just like the standard Russell's Reserve releases, Russell's Reserve 13 is meant to honor Master Distiller Eddie Russell, who celebrated his 41st anniversary at Wild Turkey in summer of 2022. Now, this was released for the first time in 2021. It's bottled at barrel proof at 114.8. It's non-chill filtered with an SRP of $150. And lastly is the new Russell's Reserve 15, described as the spiritual successor to Russell's Reserve 13 year. Russell's Reserve 15 year clocks in at 117.2 proof and hosts a suggested retail price of $250. So if this is your first time watching a quadruple bass video, basically what I do is I rate the nose, palate, and finish of each of these glasses, and the best in that category gets a point. Most points at the end of 3 rounds wins. All right, I think we are set. Let's dive into glass number 1. Here we go. Oh, come on. This is gonna be both terrible and awesome at the same time. Very, very dark, rich fruits here. I'm getting like a black raspberry note on here. That's incredible. That's crazy. And that's the first glass. This is what I mean. All right, number 2. So number 2 is definitely different, but this one comes off a little bit more fruit forward, more grape, more citrus, but more of like a charred citrus. But man, that grape and cherry comes through. Some toffee here too. It's definitely a little sweeter than number 1 is. Man, I like the nose on 2 a lot. All right, let's go to number 3. Wow, number 3 smells like the Wild Turkey Bottled and Bond 17 year Master's Keep to me. Very cherry forward, oaky. This might be the most in your face of the noses out of the 3 so far. Very potent nose. Definitely some burnt caramel here too. There is an underlying sweetness, but I feel like the cherry is kind of dominating. So, very good nose. I'm not sure if I like it more than 1 and 2. Let's go to number 4. Wow, number 4 brings some oak as well. But number 4 has a little bit more of a... While the first 3 have notes that jump out in certain directions, number 4 seems to be the most even keel. But there's a very nice richness to number 4. Number 4 is also coming off like it could be the oldest out of the other, out of all 4 of these, to be honest. There's a deep, rich oak profile, but a very sweet oak profile. More leather tobaccos here. Man, that's nice. That has some really rich, Okay, all right, what do we pick here? As much as I like 3 and 4, I still don't think they rival 1 and 2. You know what? I actually might like 4 over 2 a bit. Yeah, there's more going on with 4, I think, than 2. 2 has a nice brunt, you know, that fruit flavor, but 4 is just a little bit more rich. But 1 is, yeah, it's 1. 1 is ridiculous on the nose. It is so rich and dark. It's got that oak funk to it, that like old school turkey vibe it's got. Yeah, 1 for the win on the nose. All right, it's palate time. Here we go. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be both terrible and awesome at the same time. It's very rich, very dark, molasses, milk chocolate, very, very dark fruit heavy here. Man, that black raspberry note. It's kind of like a black raspberry, black cherry, just everything's just dark and rich. Almost to like a raisin note that you get on number 1 as well. Yeah, it's like molasses. It's very rich, but also very oak forward. Number 1's, it's got a lot of oak punch here. That is so good. Not in your face though on the palate. The flavors I love, but it's a little bit light on the front of the palate. So let's go number 2, see what we get. Number 2 just said, hold my beer. Wow. Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to go from here. Number 2, just like the nose, has a very punch you in the face type of fruit forwardness to it, which I really like. This one comes in with a little more of that orange, the grape. I could argue a little hint of like a strawberry here. Man, it's so fruit forward and it's got some great spice to it. The spice from front to back is what's kind of keeping me here on number 2. When it comes to the palate, the spice makes a difference. Number 1 has the darkness and the richness. However, the spice, along with that fruit punch on number 2, might be leaning me a little bit more over 1. We'll see. Let's go to 3. Number 3 is straight cherry Garcia ice cream. Vanilla, cherry, some little chocolate chips in there too. Very, very punchy on the front of the palate as well. Man, that's good. As much as I love 3, I'm not really sure it's giving me as much as 1 and 2 are overall, but 3 is friggin' delicious. Man, again, yeah, this does not suck. All right, so let's go to number 4. Now, number 4 on the nose impressed me. Let's see how it does on the palate. Ooh. I said on the nose that it smelled like it could be the oldest, and I think it tastes that way too. This has a very rich, dense oak profile. And while the first 3 kind of veer off in a certain direction on the flavor profile, this is very integrated. There's nothing really jumps out. It's just got this really beautiful balance of sweet, spice, oak, everything together. Good proof point, I think, here. That's just a beautifully integrated whiskey. But as far as like excitement for the palate, I don't know, I still think 1 and 2 do it a little more for me for whatever reason. One last sip of 4. 4 is really good. 4 just... I love the flavor. I think I like 4 over 3. I'm not sure if I like 4 over 1 or 2 though yet. Go back to 1 real quick. See, 1's... Oh man, the finish on 1. We'll get to finish. But as much as I love the flavors of 1, it's a little bit thin and a little bit more muted to me. Not muted, muted's the wrong word. Let me just say it's a little bit less Brunto force. Let's go to 2. I love 2 so much. 2 just has this punch you in the face, oak, spice, it lingers. I get like that tingly Pop Rocks effect on my tongue, which is, I'm not getting that from 1, and I'm also not getting that from 4. 3 is in the mix, but 3 is a little bit one-dimensional, and I feel like I'm getting more from the others. So I'm gonna give the palate, I think, here to number 2. Number 2 to me seems the most interesting. There's more going on, there's more spice, there's more pepper, there's more fruit flavors, and I think it's just a little bit more in your face than the other ones are. All right, time for the finish, here we go. One is just, oh my gosh. 1 has these flavors that are just different. It's a throwback bourbon, which is what I love about it. And the finish just goes. Man. Wow. Number 1 is an impressive bourbon. All right, let's go to 2. Now 2, I love the palate, but how's that finish? The finish is great. I think the finish has more spice than number one does, but number one has just more going on the finish overall. There's layers that keep coming to the forefront on number one. Number three is just kind of an oak bomb. Yeah, and again, that little bit of medicinal quality that it has on the back end kind of gives me pause a little bit. Number four, I think you can make an argument for number four on finish as well. I think the best finishes are between 4 and 1 to me. 4 has a very long finish, but it's not as interesting as number one. Number one just has this extended finish with all these layers that start coming back to the forefront. You start getting that black cherry note, those dark flavors, the molasses, that oak, that funky like throwback oak on number one. I think I gotta give it to number one. I feel bad because number four was pretty close on a lot of the categories. It just didn't have enough to overtake certain things. And I thought I knew what maybe number four and number three were, but now I'm very confused, you know, once you kind of go through these. And this is what's tough about blind sometimes. You know, I think as much as people want to call out what they think they know what the whiskey is, what comes before and after has a very deep-rooted effect on what you're tasting, at least to me. All right, so I think it's final finish. I think I'm gonna give to number one. Number one wins nose and finish, while the palate goes to number two. So let's find out what number three was first. Now, three to me was very cherry forward, a little bit medicinal. I thought this could have been the Generations, but now I'm not sure. It could be the 13, but I might be scared it's the 15 as well. This is the, okay, so this is the 13. And I'm not saying it's my least favorite. Now, for those of you that want to know, this happens to be batch 3. This to me was definitely more cherry, more oak forward, but compared to the other 3, didn't go in a lot of different directions, which I liked. Now let's go to number 4, which I think was an interesting bourbon because it was close in some categories, but just didn't have enough to overtake it. And I'm gonna guess, now that I know this is the 13, I'm gonna guess this is the Generations because it came off the oldest, and it is. It's the Generations. So Wild Turkey Generations, right in the mix. I think Wild Turkey Generations is one of those bourbons that just drink it on its own. It's a beautiful whiskey on its own, but when you start putting it against others where different things stand out, I think it has a little bit of trouble up against those. But on its own, especially after it opened up, Wild Turkey Generations really became a fantastic bourbon. So now it comes down to the last two, which is Russell's 15 and the Russell's Reserve Camp Nelson Single Rickhouse F. Let's see which one won. I'm guessing one is the 15. Yeah, it just can't, yeah. All right. So Single Rickhouse, even down to its, I mean, last legs here, won for me on the palate. The Single Rickhouse palate is just so much flavor going on. That's what took it for me. But number one, nose and finish, easily, for me, goes to the Russell's 15 because the Russell's 15 has this old school Wild Turkey quality. It's rich, it's dense. But as I said in the review for 15, I think certain bourbons that have a little bit more punch of flavor could go up against 15. But the one thing 15 has that you can't deny is an unbelievable nose and the finish on it that just goes for days. And plus, again, it's kind of a throwback Wild Turkey whiskey. It's fantastic. Russell's 15 for the win. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this quadruple bass episode. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the results. Did it go the way you thought it was going to go? And of course, if you have any more suggestions for any more quadruple bass videos, double or triple bass, let me know down in the comments if this went the way you thought it was going to go, or did you think it was going to be some completely different results? And before I sign off, as always, we're going to blend them. All right, some Single Rickhouse, some Russell's 13, and a little Generations. We're gonna call this the 4 Gobbles of Greatness blend. That's right, the 4 Gobbles of Greatness blend. Write it down. Actually, it smells pretty fantastic. A lot of alcohol though coming through. This would probably have to mingle a bit. Just a quick makeshift blend here. Let's give it a try. That is good. However, if I had to make one adjustment, I'd probably put less 13 in, because I am getting that little medicinal quality to it. Cheers, thanks for watching, and as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Gobble, gobble.